I'm Siobhan.
I'm Devin.
We're Sisters of the Darkest Hour. This is episode number 2. And I'm going to be the one to do the episode this time. And Devin does not know anything about the case that I'm about to read.
Nope. I just get to sit here and learn about it at the same time as you guys do.
So her reaction is going to be fresh and brand new.
Yup.
So she had something weird happen to her yesterday morning before we kickstart.
Oh, yeah. I woke up. As in the last episode, I have a puppy. And my puppy was laying at the foot of my bed. And I was laying there sleeping. And it's before 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I get to sleep in a little bit. Yay. And then all of a sudden, I hear my sister's voice talking to my puppy at the foot of my bed. Like she was scratching his ears and everything. And, you know, I check my phone and I'm like, why is this girl in my room before 7 o'clock to talk to my puppy? Like, are you kidding me? I sit up, she's not there. I'm like, okay. My puppy's like, well, I gotta go out anyway. So I'm like, alright. So we get up, we come down the steps. She's in her room sleeping. Well, no, you weren't sleeping. No. You heard me coming down, but you were in bed, covered up, all snuggled up.
Yeah, I was in bed the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know. It was so weird. People were saying about maybe I was dreaming, I don't know. But it didn't sound like it was coming from inside my head. Like, I distinctly heard it in my ear. As if she was actually in there. It was so crazy. The craziest way I've ever woken up.
And then again today, I was bathing the dog in the bathroom, and she was vacuuming the carpet.
And I thought for sure I heard her holler my name. And she didn't. I don't know. She did holler something.
I yelled at the dog to stop moving.
Yeah. While you were trying to bathe the dog. And I don't know, maybe between the door being shut and going down the hall and I'm vacuuming. And maybe it's, I don't know. But I thought for sure it was my name. I thought you hollered my name. I don't know.
Nope, I said Luna, and Luna and Devin does not sound anything remotely alike at all.
Well, I'm wondering if maybe you do have the power to astral project and you're just not being honest about it, because, I don't know, that's 2 days in a row now, and it's just creepy, and you need to stop.
That or a skinwalker.
Ugh.
But yeah.
That's what Hunter said.
Yeah. It is yesterday.
We were talking about that yesterday on our way from the one store to the other. We were talking about that. And he was saying, maybe a skinwalker. And I'm like, no, I need to call Sam and Dean.
Well, I'm doing the episode today, and I'm doing one that's not too far from our place. It happened back in the 60s. And it's the story of Peggy Ann Bradnick and William Hollenbaugh, known as the Mountain Man, also the Bicycle Man. And I just thought I'd do something local. My husband actually gave me the idea of doing this episode. Little Feldy there.
Yeah, good old Feldy.
But
one of these days you guys will get to hear his giggle, I hope. Oh, I hope you guys get to hear his little giggle.
She has an obsession with that.
It's funny, like, it's contagious. It makes you giggle when you hear his giggle. Mind you, he's a spitting image of, like, Peter Griffin, but he's got this giggle. It's awesome.
Well, let's get into it now.
Yep.
Alright, like I said, she knows nothing. She just knows the name of the person. That way, we don't tell each other, about our cases. We just give the name of the person we're doing. That way, we don't both start researching the same person. So I don't want to research that one person and find out she's doing that person also.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But yeah, it's the story of Peggy Ann Bradnick and William Hollenbaugh, the Mountain Man. I couldn't find a whole lot about William's childhood. Not a whole lot. But he was born on July 24th in 1921 in Milford Township in Juniata County. So that's not too far from us either.
No, it's not.
No. He was the son of James Diller Hollenbaugh, born May 22nd of 1889. He died September 28th of 1962. And his mom was Anna Minerva Lawver Hollenbaugh, born December 18th of 1885. She actually died in August 20th of 1949. He does have a brother. He was born 2 years after he was, named Charles. At the age of 16, William, at the age of 16, began to serve a 5 to 6 years prison for 3 counts of burglary and was placed on probation also. And then in 1945, he was sent to Fairview Hospital, Wayne County, where he was diagnosed apparently with schizophrenia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great mixture.
Oh, yeah. He was also, like I said, known to the area as Bicycle Bill, is what was his nickname there, because he had a battered red bike. Favorite color?
Ugh.
She don't like the color red.
I hate the color red.
The one house she lived in, the sink, it was all red. And it steered her away.
The sink was red, the pots and pans were red, the plates, the cups, the bowls were red, the blender was red, the coffee pot was red, everything was red.
So it steered her away from the red color. But, yeah. But, he always rode his bike with his head down. He always had one of his dogs with him. He had a couple dogs, I guess. I didn't see anything that he mistreated his dogs. No one mentioned anything like that.
I hope he didn't.
But yeah, he had a couple dogs. He was a short, skinny, and stooped guy. Apparently he was missing 5 front teeth. Since moving to Shade Gap several years ago, he lived as a hermit in a 2-room hilltop shack. In 1964, around the small town of Shade Gap, Pennsylvania, when someone started terrorizing the neighborhood. I'm just gonna give you. I looked up the census around that time that everything started, just to give people an idea of how small of a town this really was. Because this was really small back then. It's still small now.
I was gonna say it's not all that big now.
Yeah, the population back in 1950 was only 157.
Good Lord.
And then in 1960, it was 140. So it dropped down some.
Was that because of him? Or will I find out later?
No, it wasn't because of him.
Oh.
Because everything that happened didn't start until 1964.
Okay, yeah.
And,
sorry, the math is not mathing today.
I understand that. And then in 1970, it did jump up to 186.
Wait, when?
In 1970, sorry. Did I say 1980?
So people moved after everything started. People's like, oh, that's a good place to get live.
Apparently, but I guess back then, the people that lived in the area, they all really helped each other. Once everything was happening, I mean. I can't. But anyways, in 1964, I guess someone started terrorizing the area of Shade Gap. The first attack, it all seems, has started in the late night of April 11th of 1964 on a dirt road several miles north of Shade Gap. Viola Jacka, a 51-year-old widow, she lived alone in a huge 2.5-story farmhouse along the left side of the steep road. It led to a nearby stone quarry, apparently. No other house was around or in sight, which I would love that, not to have neighbors. I hate having neighbors.
I can't stand neighbors either.
No, I can't. But Mrs. Jacka, she continued to stay in the house even after her husband had passed away, because it was her home. She loved it. It's probably where her kids grew up and everything. And I can't blame her for that, but her kids were no longer living there. Except for a brief period, Mrs. Jacka had lived in the house with no concerns for her welfare, because back then, they probably didn't really have to worry about that, like locking doors and stuff like that. But she had no fear of anything or anyone up until the night that this attack had happened. It had been a peaceful place to live, especially for one who guarded her privacy, because apparently she was a very private person. And I can understand that, because I have, one social media, other than now this podcast, and it's set to private, like no one can see my stuff.
Yeah, my stuff's set to private too.
I don't even post anything, to be honest.
I hardly ever post.
I'm just I used to post a long time ago, years ago, but I don't do that anymore. I just don't care to post my business all over social media.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, my life is my private life. Felly does it sometimes and it bugs the crap out of me. But
by the way, if you guys happen to hear any yelling, we're watching. Her husband and her son are watching a football game right now, and they get very into it. I mean, we all do. But so if you hear any of that in the background, that's what it is.
Yeah. But for a few days, she had just started feeling this uneasy feeling, like something just was bugging her, like something made her feel uncomfortable. She just, during the time, television reception, that type the wooded area was almost non-existent. And they didn't have phones really back then much. A lot of the places there did not have telephones. But parlor games and the radio were the main entertainment back then, or at that time, yeah. For several nights prior to this one, Viola was unable to pinpoint the constant apprehension and fear that she was feeling. She was, like I said, not really feeling comfortable. Like, she had this sense of foreboding or something like that coming on her.
It's women's intuition.
Yeah. But she tried to stay busy with different tasks in the house while listening to the radio, but the sound of the wind and the creaking of the house didn't help her anxiety level.
I imagine not.
Yeah, and I like to clean, when I'm cleaning my house, I always have to have music going, too.
Yeah.
I have to have something going. Yeah, throughout the week, Viola would walk about a mile to her work and then back to her isolated house just across the road from an abandoned railroad track. She looked all around the house on a few occasions to see if she can determine what was causing her to feel so uneasy, but she could never pinpoint why she was feeling so uneasy. She just couldn't figure it out. But it was a Friday night, and Viola had a date at the American Legion in a nearby town of Orbazonia. She'd been looking forward to this apparently all evening. Can't blame her. Girl gotta get out of the house every once in a while. But about 9:30, she had returned home and started to get ready for bed. The worries she had been feeling had gone down some, but she wasn't feeling as anxious. She probably had a good time.
Probably.
Getting out of the house and everything. But all of a sudden, a large rock just came hurling through her house. Through her window, and it was through her front window of her house. It broke the glass and ripped the window, like, completely apart. The window frame and the blinds and everything, the curtains she had up. So it just ripped all that down.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and then she was scared, which I don't blame her. She screamed, and she was just so scared about what was going on, because this don't happen in their area.
Yeah.
But then all of her unease just came of reality and everything. From outside of her house came a man's voice ordering her not to scream or he would shoot her. Yeah. There was more glass breaking and a barrel of a gun clearing away more the window frame, followed by verbal command to her. Because of a single light of a lamp across the room, Viola was able to see part of his face. Not the whole face, just part of it. And he had some missing teeth and a partial Halloween mask. He shot his rifle following her screams and panic. It struck the wall nearby her head.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, like, what would you do if someone shot a gun right by your head? I don't know.
I don't know. I have a gun. I'd probably return fire.
Probably. But
I doubt, my guess would be she didn't have a gun to return fire. She was probably paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, probably. Well, the man, he ordered her to quit screaming or he would kill her. Which she probably, I don't know if she believed him or not, because someone's shooting at me and they're going to, and without hesitating, I'm probably going to believe that they would kill me if they had the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I would believe that he would kill me too, but I don't know.
Well, his voice held no compassion, she said, and she didn't recognize it at all in any way. Well, there goes Feldy.
I mean, if he's, throwing rocks through our windows and he already shot past her head once. I would have no doubt that he was going to kill me either if I was her.
But she ignored what he said, and the gunman fired a second shot into the room and hit a flower pot. And then as quickly as he had come, he just left as quickly. The house was quiet.
He probably only had 2 shots.
Yeah. Well, he had a rifle. I don't know how much. I don't know what kind of rifle he had. I didn't actually look into that. I should have. But Viola found her pocketbook and hid her money and grabbed her son's old baseball bat and a flashlight. Viola went outside to confront the intruder. She let out a scream when she felt something against her leg, like brush up against her leg or something, and she looked down. It was a small dog next to her.
Aww.
Yeah, I know you like your puppy dogs.
I love doggies.
Well, Viola walked around her house, and when she came back out to the road, she was barely able to see a shadowy figure of someone on the railroad bed following her movement. So he was watching her. And that would be pretty creepy. Oh my gosh, I got tongue-tied.
I'd go attack him with the ball bat.
Oh yeah. Well, he yelled at her to stop or he would shoot. Instead of stopping, she called out to her imaginary brother to shoot him instead. So she was thinking.
She was.
Oh yeah, she was pretty quick to think of that.
Yeah, that was smart.
She made her way quickly to the nearest neighbor's house down the road. A Mary Holden, I guess, was the name. Once she got there and was surrounded by all her familiar friends' faces, she told them what happened. The people at the house had heard the shots but didn't know what was happening. It's not uncommon, as you know, living out in the backwoods, out of town and stuff like that, to hear shots because people do nighttime spotlight hunting deer, or is there something getting into their animals, or
and back
stuff
then
like that.
It was completely different.
Yeah, it's different than what it is now.
Yeah, and that's a very small population where they live, so.
Yeah. But Mrs. Jacka and Mrs. Holden and the latter's son-in-law armed themselves with a gun and drove back to Viola's house. The 2 women went and locked the door and went inside. They could see what a wreck the attack had made on the house, and the fear that the intruder was still around and had overwhelmed her and everything. She didn't feel safe at her house any longer, and that's sad. Like, no. Like, you should be able to feel safe in your home.
Yeah, like that day when you and Fody were gone. I was here by myself. That, yeah.
Yeah, me and Fody were gone for hours. We went to Richfield, and somebody had come into the house while Devin was out back with the dogs. The dogs alerted her to let her know that somebody was in the house. And
yeah, I thought you guys had come back, and I was hollering at the dogs. I'm like, just stop. They'll be in a minute. They probably picked some stuff up. They have to unload. You guys still didn't come in because I heard the door shut. I thought it was you guys coming in, and y'all had been a couple minutes. You didn't come through, and I'm like, okay, maybe they need help. They're just loading stuff up in the book room, and went back out. So I come out. Nobody was there.
No. And she heard the chimes, because I have wind chimes on my door, and she was able to hear the chimes of the door shutting and everything.
I was able to feel the vibration of it too, because the door was shut pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because with this door, you have to shut it hard or it won't latch.
Yeah, I really need to get a new door.
And yeah, I mean, I carried my gun around. My gun was right there with me whenever I would leave a room. It was coming with me. And then, Sadie Bug, she really freaked out. I couldn't leave her sight.
I believe it. But they rejoined the son-in-law back outside, and they drove to Orbazonia there. They went to Viola's boyfriend's home, and then they called the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks in Huntington. She recalled at one point during the attack she had heard a car drive away at a high rate of speed. So that was the first attack. There's a couple attacks, but that was the first one.
If he rode around on a bicycle, how'd she hear a car?
It may not have been his car. It could have been someone else's car that drove away.
Oh,
Because
could have just been coincidence and timing or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe he stole a car.
Yeah, I
somehow it doesn't seem like that would be beneath him.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, but the second attack, it almost happened like 7 weeks later. Um, 7 weeks since the first attack happened, the next one reported attack that happened, most of the residents had started to forget about the first attack on Viola because it just didn't happen again for weeks later. It was over a month. So at the second attack, no one knew what they were dealing with. Was it someone pulling a cruel prank? You know, kids, you never know, or someone just pulling a cruel prank on people, which...
That's an insane prank.
Or was it someone who meant to harm somebody? That's another thing. But Miss Ruth Arnold, she was age 50, lived almost in the herd. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. She lived almost in the heart of Shade Gap, which is essentially a one-street borough. Overall, there might have been about 1,000 residents in the whole Shade Gap Valley at the time, apparently. But, like I said, the census, it said something different. But some people probably didn't go on the census, too. The census is only people who actually do the census. There's some people who don't do censuses. But on June 1st, 1964, Ruth was home painting in her kitchen. She went outside to her trash can container to find a can to put her paintbrush in. While doing that, she heard a noise a few feet away. She turned on her flashlight and showed the feet of a man who was wearing boots and a long green raincoat. He told her not to scream and that he would not hurt her. She did scream as loud as she could and started to run across her patio. He grabbed her and told her not to run away. She was able to break free of him, and he hit her on the head, knocking her to the ground. Ruby desperately struggled to get away. Her attacker hit her on the back, knocking her to the ground a second time. Like, this one was more violent. I'm not saying it was more violent, okay? I shouldn't say it like that, but he did more physical to her than he did with Viola. But, Ruth, determined to get away, got to her feet again and ran across the street to the home and insurance office of her boss, Jay Swan. Swan called the police and a doctor for Ruth, who was really distraught, which I get it. She's probably scared to death.
I mean, that would be some strange man knocking me to the ground.
Yeah. But the wound on her head needed stitches. Ruth was able to tell the police her attacker was about 6 feet tall, had deep blue eyes, and was either wearing a trench coat or a raincoat. She wasn't sure. But after this attack, the entire community went up in arms. Like, everyone was on
high alert.
Yeah. No one felt safe, and no one knew who might be the person doing all these attacks. It could be their neighbor, but everyone knew everyone then.
Yeah, especially in a town that small.
Yeah, it's not a very big town. Nobody felt safe, and no one knew who might be the person doing all these attacks. People were afraid to go out at night, and were very leery of even though, like I said, the person who they knew. But as far as they knew, the attacker could be any one of them, like Viola, Jacka, Ruth. They no longer stayed in their home by themselves. They couldn't do it.
No, I don't blame them.
Little news of the two attacks has spread beyond the community, but for locals, it was a serious business, and I get it. I really do. That was the second attack. But here's the third attack then. This one was...
Good Lord, he's a busy man.
Oh my, yes. He really is. But the third attack was Martha Yawn, age 19, and her 13-month-old son, Craig.
Aww.
No one dies in these attacks, okay? But, they became the victim of the madmen. They were the third attack. Exactly 1 month after Ruth's attack. It was July 1st of 1964, about 7:30 p.m. on Mountain Foot Road, a short distance south of Neelyton. As Martha drove south towards Burnt Cabins, she had encountered a pile of logs stacked in the middle of the two-lane road. When she stopped her car, she saw a man standing just off the side of the road holding a rifle. Insistently, she slammed her car in the reverse, and then she just slammed on the gas. She just booked it. But as she did that, the man started firing the first string of shots into her vehicle. One of the bullets actually smacked a bottle her son had in his mouth as he lay in the front seat next to his mother. Because back then, they didn't really put them in the back seat.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it is nowadays.
Right. Mm.
But yeah, he had the bottle in his mouth, and the bullet hit the bottle. Yeah.
If I was her, I would have put it in drive and just gunned it and ran him down.
She couldn't get to him because all the logs were in the way.
Oh, that's right.
So she had to get in reverse just to get out of there and everything.
Yeah, he was on the other side of the barrier. He wasn't.
But the baby was cut by some of the flying glass.
Yeah, because they used glass bottles back in.
But also the windshield, probably. But another round of shots barely missed Martha. She frantically continued to travel backwards. His shot, like I said, is blowing out the windshield. It shattered the batter and a spark plug cable. And it peppered the radiator. So her car got some damage to it. Martha's husband, Charles, and two friends heard the shots, but they didn't know what was happening because, like we said back then, it's not uncommon to hear firing in the woods.
Right.
It happens. They figure someone was either shooting at a groundhog or doing some target practice.
He was doing target practice, that's for sure.
Yeah, just not the right kind you should be doing. But they were curious about it, so they did go to investigate. And then a few minutes later, they did come across a log blocking the road and thought it was as a prankster. And they got out of their car and they did clear the roadway. It was not until a little later that Charles learned what happened to his wife and son.
So they didn't see the wife and son on the way to?
They might have went on foot. Yeah. They could have went on foot and there could have been another road that they took and found it. But it was, like I said, it wasn't until a little later that they found what happened to his wife and son. But following the attack, the news started to spread further and more intensely. Shea Gap and its residents became an armed camp because they didn't know when the next attack was going to happen. And they still don't know who it is.
Because the first one happened, then 7 weeks later the second one happened, then 4 weeks later the third one happened. So it's not like he has, like a certain schedule when he does it.
Yeah, he has no schedule. And this one's the fourth attack, because that attack there happened when, again? On July 1st. This attack happened August 19th, so this is over a month later.
Yeah, it's like 7 weeks again.
Just about, yeah. This one, this fourth attack happened on August 19th of 1964. It happened at a ramshackle dwelling house. It was occupied by a 21-year-old woman, her husband, and 2 children. The residents along the unpaved Mountain Foot Road, it's now Tammany Road, sat isolated from neighbors and passerbys. Christine and her children were home alone. Her husband, Charles, everyone's name is Charles, I'm noticing.
Well, I noticed that a lot of times when we research stuff that takes place, like our last case, everybody's name was Marie.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it was.
They weren't real creative back then.
Well, this ain't that far back.
No, it's not that far back, but still, even back then.
Yeah, it's not like you're in my name.
Yeah.
I hear about my name all the time. But, her husband Charles left to visit his sick mom. Christine got her children to bed before Charles left the house. Charles had loaded a rifle for her and put it in the closet in case she needed it for some protection. So, he didn't leave her unprotected at all.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It was dark when there was a loud crash at the back door and Christine grabbed the gun. Then a second blow forced the door open to reveal someone wearing a mask, a green raincoat, and black boots.
Gee, I wonder who it could be.
Yeah, I know. I think you got the answer right on the very first try. He was holding a rifle at her, too. The figure told her to drop the rifle, which Christine kept in her clutches in a protective gesture. Before she could either obey or challenge his demands, he fired a shot that struck the stock of her gun and entered her right hand. So he got her in the right hand.
Ow.
She was bleeding real bad, pain and lightheadedness, and the shot fire woke up the children, and they immediately started to cry while Christine managed to find a chair and sit down. She was lightheaded from the losing blood and everything. Her attacker did use a towel and wrap it around her hand, so he was treating her wound. Yeah, that's what I thought when I read it too. It didn't make sense to me.
You guys can't see me. I'm sitting here. I'm scratching my head because the first person who was attacked said he had like no compassion in his voice even, and now he's showing compassion by getting her a towel to wrap her hand, and it's that baffles me. Like why one?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Okay.
And he didn't even show any first aid to Ruth when he kept hitting her with the gun.
Like,
I don't know.
Okay. This man makes no sense to me. Like, he doesn't follow anything. Like, nothing is consistent with him.
No, it's not. But there was also, they were having a conversation while he was helping her with her injured hand, too.
They had a conversation. They had a whole conversation.
Not a whole conversation, but he told her that her injured hand was not going to interfere with his plans whatsoever. He didn't tell her, I guess, what the plans were. Just her injured hand was not going to interfere with it whatsoever.
Well, as long as he's not inconvenienced.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all about him.
Douchebag.
But because the children were crying, he forced Christine, outside towards the woods behind the house. He continued to assault her, not sexually. He didn't sexually assault her. Nothing I read stated that at all. But the gunman had used a tourniquet to slow the bleeding from her wound. Christine could not call for help because, for one, the family had no phone. And they only had one car, which her husband had taken to go see his sick mom. When her husband returned home, Christine, who was near hysteria, told him about what happened because I guess her attacker let her go. Apparently it did interfere with his plans.
Well, no, because his plan was just to beat her some more.
See, I don't know what his plans were. Like, if his plans were to kidnap her or what.
I don't know, maybe. And then with her hand. Well, no, because he said it didn't interfere with his plans. I don't know. He's confusing.
He got you completely defounded, didn't he?
Like it.
Yeah. But I guess her husband was angered about what happened. He woke up the children and put them in the family car, and then he rushed his wife to the Fulton County Medical Center. The police was notified and they tried to investigate, but the rain had washed away what might have been any type of evidence whatsoever. But Christine thought she may have heard a car pull away from her house that night, but the info could not be corroborated because the rain washed any tracks away. So
I feel like they wouldn't be able to do much with tracks anyway.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know what all they had. I don't think they didn't have DNA back then, I don't think.
No.
Not like we do now.
I don't think it really became a thing till like the 80s or 90s,
well,
actually.
DNA is still improving now.
Yeah, it's still improving now, but I mean, it wasn't even like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they really were able to do anything until the 90s.
But it would be almost 8 months before the next encounter would happen between a Shea Gap resident and the Mystery Mountain Man, is what they were saying. No one had any reasonable explanation on why the attacks had stopped, but they were really grateful. They didn't know if maybe he moved away or what. Just the attacks had stopped.
I would say maybe he had a heart attack and died, but I don't feel like that would be the case because the story would end there and it doesn't end, does it?
Nope. Nope. It does not end.
So he did not die.
No, he did not.
Nah. That was hopeful.
Yeah, I get that. No, it doesn't. We're still far away from anything stopping.
Awesome.
Alright, the fifth attack, like I said, it had been 8 months since the last attack. Ned Price and his wife Jessica lived in a small white house about 150 feet of Route 641, midway between Shea Gap and Yealington. Neither of them felt much concern about the attacks on nearby residents the previous fall. Ned had served in Germany with the United States Army during World War II.
Oh, he's badass.
Yeah, so he was a war hero, in my opinion. World War II, yeah, they've been through some stuff. After his service, he became a railroad engineer at Letterkenny Army Depot, about 25 miles from home. Neither he nor Jesse had any idea that on some occasions someone would be hiding in their underbrush behind their house and watch Jessie through a bathroom window as she bathed.
Oh.
I don't like windows in bathrooms
Pervert.
because of stuff like that. I don't know why. Maybe because being in the bathroom, you're more vulnerable.
And you're exposed.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for a female, like a girl, she's got to pull her pants and everything down just to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So she's even more, like, exposed than the guy on that sort. I mean, there are guys who sit down to pee, but there's not many.
Yeah.
And then everyone's exposed when they get in the shower. Yeah, so I personally do not like windows in bathrooms.
I don't either. Like, I think it's by law that each room has to have a window, so if there's a fire, there's an escape route in every room.
I don't know.
I think that's a law. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, people. I'm not sure.
I don't know. We have plenty of exits in this house.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was somebody watching her while she bathed and everything. But during the early evening hours on Good Friday, April 16th of 1965, Ned decided to go out behind his house to dig for a fishing bait. Just digging up some worms to go fishing.
Yummy.
Used to play with worms when we were younger.
Yeah.
But at supper, he told Jesse he had planned to go fishing the next morning. While he was going outside, Jesse headed for the bathroom to take a bath. Ned had just started to round side of his house when he heard a noise near the bathroom window. So he caught the person watching his wife. Almost immediately, the stranger raised a rifle and pointed at Ned and fired at him. The shot tore through Ned's left leg about midway between his ankle and his knee. So he did not hesitate to shoot him at all. But Ned fell to the ground and the attacker fled into the heavy underbrush a short distance away. Ned was in shock and was losing blood. He managed to crawl to the back of the kitchen door, and the whole entire time he's just crawling to get back into his house. He's yelling out for Jesse to help him. He managed to reach the door and push it partly open and get Jesse's attention and help. The Prices made a tourniquet from Ned's belt and the towel to try and stop the bleeding there. Before long, a doctor and an ambulance arrived and rushed Ned to the Huntington Hospital. Before morning, Ned had to have his leg amputated off.
That's what I was waiting. I was hoping he wasn't going to have it amputated. To survive, being deployed and fighting in World War II, you come back with all your limbs just to have to, because some crazy person's outside your house, you lose a limb.
Yeah. Just because some dude decided he wants to be a dick to everyone and start terrorizing this whole entire
And he wants to be a
town.
pervy creep and watch people bathe.
Yeah. But recalling his involvement in the investigation to the attack on Ned Price, retired Pennsylvania State Police Trooper George Plackens, I did not know how to say that right. I don't know how to say it. He was then stationed in Huntington. Says he and other troopers who responded that night traced the assailants' tracks back to a dirt road. There was no signs of a motorized vehicle, but they did see bicycle tracks.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah. But at the time of the attack, Trooper Walter Janusk, now retired, was also stationed at the Huntington Barracks and was likewise dispatched to the Price's house that night. This was Walter's first involvement in the Shade Gap attack, and now he says of the sniper, after I saw what he did, I just want a piece of him with whatever I can get my hands on.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah, everyone wanted these attacks to stop, but they weren't stopping.
He sounded like a badass. I like him.
It took months of healing before Ned Price could be fitted with a prosthesis, and making him be able to walk again. So he was able to start walking again.
I mean, that's good, but it's still just a shame. Like, he survived his deployment, like I said. Came home, all of his limbs attached, just for one deranged, demented, pervy creep to be a douche canoe and decide he feels like peeping on some dude's wife.
Yeah. I don't know. But it took months of healing, like I said, before he was able to get the prosthesis. In the meantime, the police presence around Shade Gap noticeably increased a lot as an effort to identify and arrest the person responsible for the attacks intensified. Despite the police upping the... Oh my god, I'm so tongue-tied today. I cannot talk. Maybe you should have just said this. But
no, because I didn't do none of the research.
I know. Despite the police upping the police patrol, Shade Gap residents themselves turned their community into an armed camp, like I said earlier. And no one felt safe because they never knew. Like, this was what? How many months in between the last attack? 6 or 7 months, something like that. And
yeah, because it had stopped for the longest time. Everybody thought it was over with.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he just starts right up again. But the main street in Shade Gap it never seemed busy because nobody was going out and about. But after the Price shooting, it really appeared deserted. Nobody was going outside or anything like that, which is sad. You should be able to go out and do whatever you want in your town. You should be safe.
You should be safe in your own home.
Yeah. No one should... I don't like humans. That's the
I don't
best
either.
I
That's
can
why
say.
I like animals.
Yeah, I'm a huge dog person, and dogs are more... You know what you get with them, for the most part.
I would take any animal over any human any day.
Yeah.
Like a tiger. I fully expect that damn thing to eat me. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what to expect with animals. With people, they're just... I don't know. They're unpredictable.
I get it. But no one knew who the mystery assailant was or where he might appear. They were all cautious, and belligerence became a routine. But then there was the 6th attack.
Another one.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's busy. He is.
Apparently he ain't got a job. Damn.
Yeah. It seemed that the madman had a sense about the women he confronted. They were either single, widowed, or alone at the time he made his move. So he's probably staking out and watching the house.
I don't understand it though, because he's just physically... He's either just terrorizing them or physically hitting them. Like... Why is he just picking on women?
Well, people think...
Except for poor Ned.
Well, they think women is the weaker sex.
But he has a gun. Like...
I don't know.
I don't understand why he's targeting just women. He's got a gun. Like... He must have got rejected a lot.
Well, maybe. I mean, he had mental problems.
That's true. He did say he was diagnosed as a schizophrenic.
Yeah, so he had mental problems and
He was
everything.
off his meds. Maybe that's why the attack stopped. Maybe he was on his meds during that time.
Maybe, I don't know. But he lived in a rundown shack and everything. And from my understanding, he didn't work at all, so I don't know if he had any money or...
Well, there's a shocker. He didn't work.
But, Jean McMullen and her husband Calvin and two small children lived on a mountain foot road in Decorum, a crossroads a short distance southeast of Shade Gap. They were aware of the terror that was happening to the local residents. They had just moved there a few months earlier. So they weren't there when it started. But yeah.
Well, hopefully they turn around and move right back out.
They had, like I said, moved there a few months earlier. What was it? The fifth attack had happened. How many months? 8 months after the one encounter. But this one, yeah, on the evening of May 5th of 66. Yeah, there was that.
Much of a time gap.
Yeah. Almost a year after the Price shooting, when Jean encountered the mountain man, Jean and her husband finished supper, and Calvin had left the house to take his car to a nearby garage for servicing. That was leaving Jean and the children alone. Jean was working in the kitchen with her 18-month-old. With her, decided to go out on the porch, planning on going to take the trash out to the trash can. Just something so simple. When she reached the edge of the porch, she felt a strong hand of someone grabbing her by the leg. And it was not a dog. She screamed and managed to break free of the person's grasp and scramble back into the house. In the moments while he held Jean's leg, the man stood up. He was wearing a long coat and had a mask over his face.
I just started kicking him in the face.
Yeah. Jean locked the door and tried to fortify it with a chair. She grabbed a butcher knife, sinking to the floor beside her children. Just it's the only thing she had to protect herself with, I guess. About 11:30 p.m., Calvin returned home to find his wife. She was nearly hysterical, and I don't blame her. And they didn't have a phone. She explained to him what had happened a few hours earlier. They had no phones, so state police wasn't notified till the following morning, when they used a neighbor's phone to report the incident. Not many people had phones back then.
Yeah.
George Plafkin recalls that when he was a trooper, he would patrol the Shade Gap or Shade Valley at night many times without the use of headlights on his cruiser. And he does that in hopes of encountering whoever is terrorizing the town. It is during this series of attacks that Trooper Carl Regetz, while on patrol one night, had stopped William Hollenbaugh and gave him help for riding a bicycle without a light.
They should have given him a lot more than that.
Yeah, but they didn't know he was the one terrorizing the town.
I guess bicycles were common back then.
But although this was the Mountainmen's sixth attack, women in southern Huntington County had reported several other encounters with prowlers and peeping toms. In fact, one woman shot at a man as he fled her property. There had also been at least one report filed prior to what happened to Viola Jacka, the very first attack. But at the time, the police had no idea they were dealing with what would be a long reign of terror. At all.
Well, yeah, he ain't got nothing better to do with his time.
But that is where I'm going to leave you off with part 1, and we're going to make this a 2-parter, Devin.
Yay. So we gotta wait another week to find out what happens.
Yeah, well, we're already 6 attacks in, and there's more stuff to come.
Oh my.
Like I said, this man's been busy, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I just don't want to... There's just so much going on. This other one's one is one big incident that's about to come happen. And it's going to be another hour, at least.
Goodness.
So I figured I'd get through the attacks first today, and then what happens with him and Peggy next week.
Peggy.
Yep.
So next week is where we get introduced to Miss Peggy.
Yep, but like he's been busy. There's been only 6 attacks was really reported, but there could be a lot more because, like I said, there's these women talking about peeping toms and other things happening.
They just weren't as severe as the other attacks.
Yeah, because peeping toms and stuff, that could be anybody. It may not necessarily been him.
It could have been random people, like, oh, this guy's out there attacking people. They'll just assume it was him.
Yeah, that could be too.
Or taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Such perverts.
Pretty much. But yep, that's where I'll leave you off with part 1. Part 2 will be coming next week. I know it's supposed to be her episode, but I'm going to do it. Since I have a 2-parter, apparently. I did not intend to make this a 2-parter. It just happened.
I'm sure it's going to happen several times where one of us ends up having a 2-parter.
Oh, yeah, because I feel like you can't ever have too much information and everything.
No. Details are nice.
Yeah. I always like the idea of having details, but unfortunately we have not gotten an Instagram or anything set up, just our YouTube account and our Facebook, which for both of them you can find us at Sisters of the Darkest Hour, and we have our email too, which is sistersofthedarkesthour@gmail.com. We both have access to it, so we'll both be able to reply. If anybody has any cases or anything, they have ideas for us, just go ahead and email that to us and let us know how we do. Just rate and review us and let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely open to any and all suggestions about true crime cases. Even like the really uncommon, unheard of ones are amazing. Like the one she's doing, it's locally known to us because we live in that area. Maybe there's something local to where you live that, you know, has its own history or own true crime incident that you would like us to research and cover. I mean, we love doing the research. We enjoy it. It definitely, I don't want to say therapeutic, but I don't know, something about true crime. I can be watching Forensic Files or Cold Case, or I could be watching a documentary about Ted Bundy, and I'll go to sleep. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, something about it is okay. That makes me sound a little insane, but I mean, if it does, I know I'm not the only one. I know there's others out there that are like that as well. At least I hope so. If you are like that, please let me know. I don't want to feel like I'm alone or like I'm crazy, but
but also if you feel there's something that help us improve our podcast. We're completely new at this. If there's something you think that will help us improve, please let us know. We just want to get better and
provide
do
good content.
Oh yeah, that's the number one, being able to provide good content for everybody. So I think that's it for this week.
Okay.
We will see or talk to everyone in a week.
All right, stay safe.
Yep. All right. Bye, everybody.